Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stassi. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited to be here today to talk about Harry motherfucking Potter. I am a huge Harry Potter fan, and I'm so excited to have Rhea back here today. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you for having me back again.
Oh my god, you are welcome. You are coming in hot. So this would now be because I was 6.
Yes.
This would be the
No,
6.
five. I had
5
two, and
and
then
then 3.
the three. Yeah.
The 3. I want to take a minute and thank you. So Rhea has sat with me in the last 12 hours, has filmed 3 podcasts. Now you get what it's like to be on this side of being like, yeah, let's go. How many podcasts can we fit into a day? Answers a lot. But Rhea, welcome back. For anybody listening for the first time, welcome. For my returning listeners, welcome back. Rhea, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Rhea. I'm in my mid-30s and I'm from Ontario, Canada, like Stassi. And I first got Harry Potter at a book fair. Very classic.
Scholastic.
Scholastic book fair.
Fuck yes.
And I jumped on the Harry Potter train quite early, and
Okay.
that they had the American version of the book in Canada at that point in time.
Yes.
And I had the American version, was my first version that I got. And
Okay.
then later they switched it to the British version.
What is it? Okay, is it Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone? Which one's which?
Philosopher's Stone is the original.
Okay.
Sorcerer's Stone was translated for Americans because they thought American children wouldn't understand British English.
Okay, yeah, because I have okay. Calling out here, calling out my copy of the Philosopher's Stone. Let's fucking go. See, the thing is so being dyslexic, it was very hard to read Harry Potter, so I had to have it read to me. It was also discouraging. Let's take a look here as we're like showing my book collection. The first one, the 5th one.
Yes.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
holy shit. But I
The fifth
remember,
one is a lot bigger.
not only that, it's also the 6th and the 7th. Okay,
Yeah.
so in the 6th book, me and my childhood friend Casey waited at Chapters at midnight. We lined up at 5 p.m. to get there for midnight, and because they teased a big death. Like they're like someone important's gonna die, and like this is like when like the 2nd or 3rd movie was out, so we don't really know what's gonna happen. So she gets the book. We're in. We've just also gotten our Starbucks frappuccinos because they
And
stayed.
someone yelled it out, did they?
No, she opened the page in the book and saw that Dumbledore died. She's like, it was Dumbledore. And I was like, what?
Oh my God.
I haven't even had a chance to get this read to me yet. What? Because we had our butterbeer Starbucks drinks. So they had the classic butterbeer ones. Also, that's a secret menu item, guys. You can get butterbeer Starbucks any day. I'm pretty sure it's just steamed apple juice, cream, and hazelnut. I think that's
That's
literally
interesting.
yeah, if you go on a butterbeer secret menu Starbucks, you can get it at any time. And also to get that specialty flavor, I think it is just a shot of nutmeg, a shot of hazelnut, and cream, and yeah, apple juice. It's a butterbeer. But so we had our butterbeers, and I was like, and then I couldn't read it because I was already ruined for me. Like I was like, well, he dies. Also, speaking of he dies, can we call it the best original Dumbledore?
No.
I didn't like the 3rd one because I was like, oh, this is darkest season ever. Because he made the best Dumbledore. And for anybody who's like, the fuck's this bitch talking about? I'm holding up the first original copy, and it has the original Dumbledore with the beard belts and like the fun outfits and the long hair. Like that fucking looks like the guy who played him. Okay.
He's got like white hair down to his waist, beard down to his waist. Like, oh my God. Yeah, I remember they had that as a cardboard cutout when like I was up in Muskoka when the
Yeah.
4th book came out, and we were like staying at a friend's cottage, and so we like went and pre-ordered it in the bookstore. You had to go into the bookstore and pre-order it to make sure that they would have one for
Yes.
you on the day it came out. And so we went to this bookstore and we got it. And then we drove home. And then like me and my brother and sister were arguing over who would read it first. My mom was like, I'm reading it out loud. And so then she would like, and she'd get all hoarse, and then we'd like take turns reading it out loud to each other because we had to know what was going to happen next in the fourth book.
To
And
me,
I didn't,
no, go
sorry,
ahead. No, go ahead.
I didn't like when the sixth book came out, I was doing this like French immersion program in Quebec.
Okay.
And we weren't allowed to have anything English. Like we weren't allowed to have like I had the first Harry Potter book in French
Yeah.
because I needed something to read. And we weren't allowed to have like a book in English. We weren't allowed to have anything in English because it was a federal like bursary kind of program.
Yeah.
And so you could go for free for 6 weeks to Quebec, and they would like feed you, and it was like summer camp all about French.
Okay.
And but we were all there like, oh my gosh, the sixth book is coming out halfway through this thing, and they aren't releasing the French version for like another 2 months. And so we're there just like nobody's going on the internet. Nobody's like looking at the news. Like nobody's doing anything because we're like, we can't be spoiled.
You
We
can't be
can't be
spoiled.
spoiled, and we can't get the book. And so my mom came and picked me up from that little town in Quebec in the van with my sister and my cousin.
Yeah.
And we were driving to Nova Scotia, where most of my relatives are.
Yeah.
And so they had purchased the CD version of the audiobook. And they listened to like the previous, like over the course of the summer, they were all hanging out in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And so they listened to like the previous books, and they timed it so that they finished the fourth book as they arrived to pick me up. And then we switched to the sixth book. And when the time came to get out of the car, it was like, no, I don't want to get out of the car. I need to keep hearing what's happening.
See, the sixth book is amazing. The sixth movie is garbage. I forget.
They are all garbage. Like they all sucked.
But okay.
Apparently the stage play is not bad.
I did not like the Cursed Child. Why did Harry hate his kid? That goes against like everything. I mean, it's been playing in Toronto now for like a year, basically. Every time they're like, "Oh, Jenny, you gonna go see it?" And I'm like, "No," because I don't like the How did J.K. Rowling sign off on this garbage? He hates his son. That goes against everything that like Harry would do. See, and the whole time travel bullshit as well. Sorry, I just don't add time travel. That's one of my grimes I have with this is the time turner bullshit of being okay.
If
so
you could use a time turner like that, then why didn't they use it to kill Voldemort when he was a baby?
Yeah, right. Or go back in time and be like, no, we're gonna change that, and just kind of stuff like that. So you've like it's so many fucking plot holes. I'm like, J.K. Rowling, like,
it's like you take a pickaxe and tear plot holes into it.
Yeah, because
you're just trying to get more money.
Well, 100%. Well, that's what that is, right? Because they go back to the fourth movie and try to save Cedric to stop Voldemort. But I'm like, okay, cool.
Have you ever heard the concept of the evil baby orphanage?
No.
So it's like a thought experiment where it's like, okay, if people are talking about like, oh, if you had a time machine, would you go back and kill Hitler as a baby? And someone was like, no, that would be wrong. You can't kill a baby. I don't care if it's Hitler. What you do is you go and you get baby Hitler and you raise him to be a nice, polite young person at the evil baby orphanage, with Mussolini and all these.
Yeah. Okay.
And Voldemort, like.
Well, yeah. I wish they would delve into more of like, so like we just know that like Tom Riddle is his muggle father, but we don't go into the love potion aspect of it, why he's so
messed up,
why he's so heartless, because he's basically born, from what I've gathered and read, it's like basically being born without a heart because it's born without love.
Really? I never even, because I kind of like I read the seventh book,
yeah,
and then I entered the realm of fan fiction and never looked back.
Oh, yeah.
And because fan fiction has a lot of fix-its.
Yes.
Where they're like, I mean, like theoretically, like if you try to make sense of the Harry Potter world, like if you try to suspend your disbelief, then yes, it's, a very interesting adventure story.
Yes.
But if you critically analyze the first book, Dumbledore is either incompetent or evil.
You need to elaborate more on that, my friend.
So in the first book, they for one thing, they take this incredible lure for crime and evilness
Yeah.
and place it in a school. Not only
Okay.
do they place it in a school, but they place it behind a locked door that you can
Yes.
open as a first year.
Yes.
And then they tell everybody, don't go behind the door.
Yeah.
We're not telling you what's behind it. Like, do you think that children maybe are curious and
Of
not
like,
smart at, like, self-preservation?
yeah.
Because that is a well-known thing about children, is that they're very curious and they're not great at self-preservation.
Mhm.
And so like it's like waving a big red flag for all the children.
Yeah, like
Hey,
why
here's a Cerberus, go get eaten.
why
Like,
was it not kept at Green Gods? To my knowledge, Green Gods was like the safest place to keep shit until obviously the Dark Wizard War and it got taken over. But before that, shit, you ain't breaking into fucking Green Gods.
no.
No.
Or like, I don't know, if this guy is like 600 years old and super smart and powerful, keep it in your pocket.
Where it is
Like
a fucking necklace.
the safest place it can be is with this person who is so ancient and clever, right? Like,
Yeah, or give it back to Nicholas Flamel, you know?
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, give it to
Yeah.
Nicholas Flamel. Like, why
Flamel.
would Nicholas Flamel be like, I'm gonna sign off on this? Yes, Dumbledore, please do put it at the school behind a series of traps that can be overcome by 11-year-olds. Or like,
It's convenience, right? That's how it carries the plot. The thing is, I get it because they're supposed to be like it's a powerful thing. I don't find Harry powerful. He's annoying. If he wasn't the promised child, like he wouldn't be special.
no,
No,
no.
no,
I think part of that is like a writing trope where like they make the main character very nondescript so
yeah,
that you can pretend that you are the main
yeah,
character.
yeah.
But I like literally one time when I was in high school, I had a nightmare that I was Harry and I was like a teenager and the weight of the world was on my shoulders and I had to kill Voldemort. And it wasn't a fun adventure dream, it was a nightmare. It was terrifying.
Well, that's okay. So yes, so I write Rose Chronicles story, right? So you're coming into this whole part of you're at like basically where I'm at now, which it's not really spoilers. Spoilers if you haven't read it, I guess. But it's just kind of to Alexa. She's like, "Wait, I have to kill this person? Why me? Why can't you guys?" And it's all Billigis being like, "Well, you're the chosen one, so like that's on you." I did steal that from Harry Potter. I mean, as we talked about the Barbie podcast. Also, go listen to that podcast. It's everything's borrowed from one another, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine being an 11-year-old boy. My parents are dead. I don't know I'm a wizard. I imagine like puberty as a fucking wizard, like being like, huh, I just made shit levitate. Not gonna ask further questions though. Good. Or like at the fucking zoo in the movie where the glass goes. Not gonna think like, there's glass here. I wonder what happened to that. Like the first movie I find it's so hard to sit through because there's just like,
Like, you
okay,
can't suspend your disbelief that much as much as you could when you were a kid, when you're an adult.
right, yeah,
And the other thing is like, okay, you've got two kids in your class, you're a teacher.
yep,
You've got Dudley, who is obviously very indulged,
yes.
and you've got Harry, who disappears for suspiciously long amounts of times and come back looking very hungry and thin and
Right.
covered in bruises. Hmm,
Hmm.
gee, maybe I should contact child services.
Says or something on the lines of that, or maybe because like I was not sure. Did Harry go to mortal school?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, how did they explain him? Just like, bye. Like I'm gonna go or
Well, so at the age where they decided to go, it was kind of like when kids would leave elementary school and go to secondary school.
oh okay.
And so that what wouldn't have been as hard to explain.
I gotcha.
But what, like, because they talk about locking him in the cupboard for a week,
Yeah.
And for one thing, where does he go to the toilet?
Yeah. Is
Like,
he
do they give him a bucket? Like,
or is he fucking like
is it a
holding it in?
stench emanating from the cupboard?
Are you saying he pooped in his pants? You wear an adult diaper? Right?
No,
Like
I'm saying what they give him a bucket and then he uses the bucket and then it's sitting around in the front hallway.
that stink. Wouldn't
That
somebody
would
come
smell
in?
so bad.
Wouldn't somebody hear him? Like, because Petunia was a housewife. Wouldn't she be annoyed of like have hearing Harry being locked in a cupboard with shit smelling stairs?
Like, because I mean, like, what did they let? Because they talk about him not letting him out, and they
Yeah.
don't mention that they mention they lock him in the cupboard for a week, but he doesn't have a cat flap in the cupboard.
No.
How do they feed him? Are they shoving beans through the vent in the door?
Right?
Like,
Again,
it
it
doesn't make any sense.
that's how you know we're like adults having existential crisis in life. We're like, so like, how did Harry eat? How did Harry? But that's a thing. But as a kid, I didn't use this. I was like, oh, they probably like let him out to like eat and poop and
Yeah,
play or something. But like, even they're like, oh, like this is Dudley's hand-me-downs of like that's what Harry wore. Here's the thing, and this is something that like, why would you send him back? Like every year, why would you send him back? You're like, oh fuck, like, we made a mistake. We shouldn't have sent him off to live with his mortal family. That's on us. We're gonna take him back. We're going to be like, we're gonna keep him in the wizarding world. No, they sent him back to this abusive family.
there
I'm
is like a plot thing that they tried to explain that away, that there was like a blood ward that kept him safe by living with his mom's sister and their relation. And so he had to live at the Dursleys like in order to recharge the ward every year. But like, see, here's another thing is that Hermione is a very smart young lady whose
yes,
parents are dentists. Dentists are health professionals. Health professionals are mandatory reporters of child abuse.
yes.
Like, would Hermione not have said, well, gee, every time we come back from the holidays, my friend Harry is skinny and bruised and wearing these like disgusting clothes that like, and and then Hermione's parents would just be like, oh, gee, that isn't suspicious. Like,
Oh, right. And they're just like, again, it's like it's the disbelief of it being in her. I wish they would. I wish, like, I understand for children, we are examining children books. They're not meant to be like this depth. But to me, I think that's world building of like, how did you let Harry grow up in such a toxic home? How does Harry show none of the negative traits of being
an abused child,
an
which he
abused
was.
child, right? Because like he, in my opinion, Harry has a lot of the yes, he's a Gryffindor, but he also has a lot of traits as a Slytherin as well. I'm shocked if he has a fucking Horcrux in him, he should have been placed in Slytherin. If he is a
Well,
part of Dumbledore's soul, not
or
Dumbledore, Voldemort's
Voldemort.
soul, Voldemort, yeah, he should have been in Slytherin.
Well, not only that, but like, if they wore the locket around their neck, it would make them like think dark thoughts and stuff.
Yeah,
So having it implanted in his head, like, there's just so much of it that doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
Which is, why fan fiction.
yeah,
Because people go in and they try to like examine what they think is foolish about the real books and then
yeah.
repair it.
Well, it's kind of like Sim CC versus non CC. Sims are silly without CC. CC makes their fan fiction makes Harry Potter much better. I can sit here and tell you, I've definitely read my first dive into fan fiction was obviously Sailor Moon, Tuxedo Mask, Lemon. Let's go. And then I was like, you know what? I want to read some Hermione and Draco because that is a better pairing than her and fucking Ron.
Her and Ron, like, is
Came out
like
of
the worst
nowhere.
pairing ever.
Yeah.
Like her and Harry, maybe her and Neville, her and friggin' I don't like the ones where they pair with adults. That's weird and gross.
Yeah.
But like, her where she goes back in time and meets Remus when he's at her same age
Yeah.
and is paired with him. Like, yeah, like her and a Weasley twin
Sure.
is more sensible than her and Ron. Her and Ron have like nothing to do with each other, and like he used to bully her,
Yeah. Is this
and
like
he
the
still
pulling
was
the
like mean
I
when they were
know.
friends.
I know. Is it like the pulling the pigtail theories? If like the boy pulls your pigtails means he likes you. Like, no, I just like sat there. I always because I remember clear as day. It was my 11th birthday. I was having a pool party, and we were talking because like one of the newer Harry Potter books was coming out, and my dad asked me, he's like, "Who do you think Hermione's gonna hang out?" Because I was a huge Hermione girl, and then I became more of an adult, and I was like, "Oh, I'm a Luna Lovegood girl. I am not a Hermione girl." But and I was like, "Oh, like she's gonna end up with Harry," because that's what main character. Because literally, Harry Potter is a wet serial killer's wet dream with golden retriever energy. Okay, like he's just like, I'm a hero. Look at me. Look how awesome I am. No, it's fucking Hermione saving your ass every fucking time. So get in your lane.
Absolutely.
I was like, oh, they're gonna end up to. He's like, no, she's gonna end up with. My dad's like, no, she's gonna end up with Ron. Like they're planting the seeds. It's like, Dad, you're wrong. And then when it can happen, they were like, oh,
Hermione and Luna. Like,
oh, that is fanfic that I could read any day of the week.
I'm just like Hermione and Neville are obviously the best characters.
Obviously.
Like hands down,
yeah.
Hermione and Neville, it's where it's at.
Yes.
But I'm just like,
okay,
like,
what about Oliver Wood from the first movie? He can also come and get it.
Okay, the very best fan fiction that I ever read.
Okay,
they took it down.
Oh,
because but somebody had saved it.
Okay.
On like a PDF.
Yeah.
And so you can still find it if you really look. Basically, I really loved like good characterization in a story.
Yes.
They take Percy Weasley.
Okay.
And make him the hero of this story. And he's totally in character the whole time.
Yes. Because like no one gives a shit about Percy Weasley.
Nobody likes Percy.
No. Because I didn't know Ron had a much older brother until I think it was the third movie that because they went to Egypt. And then in the fourth, oh my brother, no, it's my brother Charlie does the dragons.
Who is asexual.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like I mean, she confirmed it in a tweet, but like I mean, who listens to her tweet?
Yeah. And then was it Percy's wedding in 7 or was it Charlie's wedding?
It was Bill's, the very oldest brother.
She's
marrying Fleur.
Fucking Christ. Okay, I thought Bill was Percy. Okay,
no.
Weasley family.
No, Percy is the one who was the prefect Percy, who was always like, actually that's against the rules.
Yeah.
Like, and so nobody liked Percy. And so that's why this fan fiction making him the hero was so amazing because like Bill worked in Egypt with the goblins doing curse breaking, really, badass kind of, looked up to by his younger siblings. And then Charlie was a dragon handler and, really badass, looked up to by his siblings. And then there was Percy was the next.
Yeah.
And Percy was not liked by any of his siblings because he wasn't any fun. Mm-hmm. He always wanted to follow the rules. And so during the Wizarding War, he's working in the ministry.
Okay.
Like as it becomes kind of like more and more prejudiced. Mm-hmm. And in this story, he's working in the ministry and he sees the prejudice and he like his ex-girlfriend, Penelope Clearwater was a half-blood.
Yeah.
And so they were going to like put her in jail for stealing magic. Because obviously if you're a half-blood then you can't, or like she might have been a muggle-born, but anyways they were going to put her in jail. And so he's like writing the notes at her trial and being like, what is this is ridiculous. And so he does what people did in like Nazi Germany, mm-hmm. where he was like, he knew what the ministry was doing.
Yeah.
So he was funneling people out into other countries.
Yeah, he was
getting fake passports. He was like a spy.
Yeah.
And in this story, it made me think of Oliver Wood because he needed like a partner to help him. And the only other Gryffindor in the same year as Percy was Oliver Wood.
Oh my God.
And so they're like, yeah, Percy and Oliver were kind of similar. Percy loved rules and Oliver loved Quidditch, and they would blather on each other about, take turns being like, well, Quidditch, this.
Yes.
Okay, I'm kind of bored, but I'm still listening to you. And then, oh, well, rules, this. And so the two of them work together. They create an alter ego superhero character. and then they like behind the scenes like save like, you know, they don't end the war or anything like that. Like Harry still has to end the war, but they
Mhm.
like funnel like they that save like thousands of people by like getting them out of the country. It's like an amazingly written story. It's called The Scarlet Pimpernel.
That's incredible. See, that's the shit I want to read. I don't want to be like, yo, let's talk about, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like subplot lines. Like, because when I think of Harry Potter, I think of more of the movies than the books because the movies stick with me because I usually watch the first, okay, I stop after the fourth film because the other four movies don't exist in my mind. Um, I'll watch like one
Except
to
for
four.
except for like, you know, you can watch YouTube clips of Neville because Neville grew up and
Oh,
really shifted.
literally long bottomed. Literally. Oh my god. Like he is like a tall, tasty snack that can come over anytime. So good. But speaking of Neville, they did him so dirty, like really dirty in the movies. He's basically this bumbling buffoon.
But I
Of
mean, like he was in the books too. He wasn't. I mean, he had flashes of brilliance in the books, but
yeah.
they never really showed him at his true potential. Or like the other, it was like the other characters' opinions of him was always like, oh no, like
Yeah. But what I mean when I think I mean more by like dirty is like they didn't go into his parents and St. Mongo's.
oh
And like
Jesus, I forgot that they didn't do that.
yeah, they didn't do that. So I had no idea what the fuck anybody was talking about because it didn't like unfortunately reading it, it didn't stick because there were so many like the problem with being dyslexic, I have a hard time learning English, let alone made up words. So it was a part of the story that just never really clicked. And then when I started watching Movie Flames, I was like, he did a whole video of like the timeline of Neville, and they talk like, oh, like Bellatrix Lestrange, like basically used one of the unforgivable curses, basically made them brain dead. And they grew up in St. Mongo's, and that's why he lives with his grandmother, and he would go and
Who
visit them.
sucks? His
Yeah.
grandmother sucks. Like
Oh,
she's like so emotionally abusive,
exactly. It's
and
literally
she let
Harry.
his uncle push him out a window.
It's the Harry storyline. Harry couldn't. That's why Bellatrix went there because they thought Neville was the promised child, the child that was promised that was gonna kill Voldemort, but it wasn't him. It was Harry, and they just completely skip over that.
Like,
Uh,
you know, in literary terms, Neville is the foil. Like,
yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I just feel like I hope for the HBO series that we get a Neville Longbottom like reboot of his character and
oh my gosh,
showing
I would so watch like a Neville Longbottom. Like, I don't watch movies anymore. If they
yeah.
made like a Neville Longbottom movie,
Yeah.
I would be so in.
Well, I was so mad that like obviously HBO has announced come 2025 after that every 7 year for the next 7 years after that there's going to be a new Harry Potter series basically like clockwork. No, there's so much more backstory that needs to be said, and especially in film I would rather go and deep dive the stuff that was missing. Like I like in the first book, Nearly Headless Nick's Halloween Party, that's not ever mentioned in any of the movies, or talking more about the ghosts or the talking paintings, or just even like learning more about Hogwarts or the original four founders of Hogwarts.
Do you know what is like something that you'd never think of, but like doesn't make any sense?
Yeah.
Is that the painting who like guards the Gryffindor doorway
Yeah.
is always referred to. She never has a name.
She's
She's the fat lady.
she's the fat lady, yeah.
And it's like, well, wouldn't someone eventually, like even Hermione, be like, oh, well, you are a sentient talking painting. What's your name? Would
Yeah.
you like to be called the fat lady or would you like to be called Margaret? You know?
Well, that's exactly it, right? I understand it's a play, to the fat lady sings, like I understand it's that, and yeah, but like I want to add more depth. Like I feel like the stories are kind of like the Sims lore of like being like, where's the depth? Where is the, oh, like this happens, or yeah, you're right. Or like I didn't know, like in the third movie, I don't know if it's that same way in the books, is that the fat lady leaves her painting and goes and hides when Sirius is in the castle.
Mm-hmm.
What if she's not there? Can you not fucking open the door? No one like
You can't,
you
no.
can't like what if you had to get in? You know what I mean? So like it's just like little things like that. It's something that I think again was really kind of missed over was Dumbledore. Why is he the way he is? Why
Well, and
is
he
he
was
so
like,
powerful?
well, and the thing is, like, he was like, this was never mentioned in the books, but apparently he had like a relationship with Gellert Grindelwald where they were like
Yes.
teenagers or something, and then they went their separate ways, and one became the Light Lord and the other became the Dark Lord and all this
Yes.
stuff. And it's like, I mean, okay, but it just seems kind of homophobic.
Kind of. Because
Like,
it's not really talked it's talked about more in the Fantastical Beasts. Like it's especially the Secret Wars of Dumbledore. I think that's what the third one was called. Like that literally dives into him and Grindelwald's relationship. Is that an afterthought? Because like Grindelwald is not really mentioned. Only a couple times that he was a really bad guy and he escaped from Azkaban. But you're like, who the fuck is Grindelwald?
like speaking of plot holes,
Yeah,
Azkaban, seriously?
right?
Like you have one level of prison and it is torture prison.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'd want to be part of magical society.
Mm-mm. Well, speaking of like magical society, like a big trope is like, how can Draco be like family be rich and the Weasleys be poor? How do they like gauge money? Can't you make money? That's a huge like thing. I'm like, I don't know.
No, Gulpalot's third law.
Wait, what?
Okay, so I feel very much like Hermione right now. But you can't produce money,
Okay.
food, or like there was like another three, there was a third thing that you can't produce. So that's why when they were in the tent, they were starving because they couldn't just conjure food. And they had to like sneak into stores and steal it and stuff. Um, because they had no money, like they had no muggle money.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't go to Gringotts because Voldemort.
Yeah.
But so you can't produce food, you can't produce money. Like when the leprechauns like showered everybody in gold at the Quidditch World Cup,
Yeah.
the money disappeared 6 hours later, which
Uh,
is like a side plot because I don't know if he's even in the movies. Bagman,
no.
Ludo Bagman is like, he was one of the judges, like he was the head of the international sports and games
Mm-hmm.
section of the ministry,
Yep.
and he was not a great dude, and
No.
he made a lot of bets on the Quidditch World Cup with the goblins,
Mm-hmm.
and then he lost his bets and he didn't have any money to pay them back, and so he gave them leprechaun gold, which
Mm.
disappeared, and then the goblins were like out to kill him because he like welched on his bet and
Yep.
like cheated them with money, and like the goblins are very much passionate about not being cheated and no one messing around with their money.
Well, no shit. And again, I wish they would have gone more into goblins instead of like in the movies, like 3 times we saw them. Was
And they were
at
different every time or something.
Yeah, it was different actor every time that played him.
No, it was the same actor
Oh, was
who
it?
also played Flitwick.
Okay, I did know he played Flitwick. I didn't realize that he also played a goblin.
Yes. Yeah. Like basically, if they needed someone who was not very tall,
Yeah.
then they used the same actor.
Okay. See, I did not know that. See, I appreciate you have more Harry Potter knowledge than I do. Speaking of Harry Potter knowledge, what house do you find yourself in?
Hufflepuff for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, I was gonna say like if it's not Hufflepuff, but here's the thing, I wish they would have shined more of a light on the other houses besides Slytherin and Gryffindor. I didn't even know really like what the Hufflepuff traits were. Because like I think Cedric was the only Hufflepuff that was shown really in any of the movies. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why like Hufflepuff fans love that movie. He's like, look, it's a Hufflepuff. We made it,
See,
guys. He made it to the time wizard, like time travel. Time wizard tournament. Can't fucking
the
speak.
Triwizard Tournament,
Try
yeah.
wizard tournament. Thank you. But it was cool to see that. And now there's I think there's all the Slytherin books. You can read the Slytherin's perspective of the 7 books. And there's obviously the Gryffindor version is the main version. There's a Hufflepuff version, and there's a Ravenclaw version. but most people are like, oh, like what house are you in? As a kid, you're like Gryffindor because that's my
Oh,
family
everybody
house.
wants to be Gryffindor when you're a kid, unless you're like a little rebel and then you want to be Slytherin.
Right? Like as it's literally behind me, right there. My Gryffindor scarf. My parents went to Hogwarts, like in England, and they asked me what I wanted to go back. I was like, oh, I want a Gryffindor scarf. So they brought it back, and I wore it all the time. And I was gonna put my Gryffindor sweater on, but I'm like, I can't do that to Justice because A, it doesn't fit, and B, I'm representing the wrong house. So my fiance said to me, because I wore that scarf, I just met him and I wore that everywhere that fall. And he's like, you should have been in Slytherin. I was like, should have been Gryffindor. Like 2 months. Like, how do you think I'm in Slytherin? Because he's not a Harry Potter fan. He's only like watched snippets because I'm like, I'm watching Harry Potter today and eating popcorn. So you can either join me or fuck off. Like you can decide. Um, but he's like, you share more of the Slytherin traits. And I'm like, well, no. I was like, wait, I Googled how to get Gryffindor answers on the Pottermore test. I'm pretty sure that's pretty Slytherin if that's any of the traits. But then I realized that, yeah, I have more of the traits because I'm not fucking evil, but I am cunning. I'm
Mhm.
very cunning. So I wish what they would do as well is show all the four houses in the proper light and disassociate that Slytherin is bad. Slytherin is not bad. Good wizards came from Slytherin. It just happened to be a lot of the bad wizards came from there too.
Well, I think part of it is that like if if you constantly look at children in negative light and the teachers all kind of look down on the Slytherin kids,
Yeah.
well, then they're going to grow up and be angry about that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, as you do. Like, well, if you think I'm this so much and I can't convince you that I'm anything but this, then I might as well be what you think I am. Like, I used to
Exactly.
have a Hufflepuff scarf
Oh yeah.
and I gave it to my sister because I wasn't wearing it very much. And I was like, yeah, if when you're done with it, give it back. But like, it was a hand knit Hufflepuff scarf. It's
Oh my
really
god.
warm.
I what other hidden things as someone who again associates the movies, what else do you think is missing from the books to the movies? Like what didn't translate? Obviously Jenny and her fucking cardboard personality. I was like, wait, Ginny likes Harry? What? And I'm like, there's no depth. And they just kind of made her like the same personality as Mayo. Like nothing
Yeah.
in yeah.
Or
I would like
they had I think Dobby give Harry the gillyweed
it,
for the task in the fourth book for the under the water task. The
yeah.
gillyweed is the plant
This
that you
the
eat and then
plant.
you grow gills.
Yeah, it was Neville.
Neville gave it.
It was Neville in the movies.
No, it was
It was not Dobby. Dobby's not in the
oh
fourth.
Dob. It was the other way around. Like
Okay.
because one or the other, like it wasn't the right person who gave the gillyweed.
Yeah, because it was Neville in the books, because it's Harry. Sorry, Harry. It's Harry. Oh my God, it's Neville in the movies because Harry McGonagall has come to steal Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Also, let's take a minute to that. If they didn't save them, what would Hermione and Ron would have died by sirens at the bottom of the fucking lake? Because that's pretty dark, guys. So,
Well,
anyways,
and like, did they consent to being sent down to the lake?
right?
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did. I was like, yo, okay, guys, come here, eat this, and see you guys in like a couple hours. So it was like, that's fucked. So it's just Neville and Harry in the library, and
Or I
Neville.
think maybe Neville tells him about gillyweed and then Dobby gets it.
Okay, yeah. In the movie, Neville gives it to him and is like, hey, because Harry later says, I don't know, like what you try, but if there's like a Tibetan turnip that can make me breathe underwater for an hour, like that can help me. He's like, well, and then Neville's like, I don't know about Tibetan turnip, but what about Gillywig? And then it like cuts to the water scene, and I'm like, it doesn't say who he got it from, how did he grow it, is this like an available
They
herb,
stole it
how
from
rare?
Snape.
Yeah, which I know from watching movie flames of like the difference between like the book and the movies. But I'm like, That's really important information. Like, I thought gillyweed was just like, oh, like fucking oregano. Like, no, this shit is rare and hard to come by. And
Do you know what I think they really missed in the movie?
lay it on me.
Like the like, we follow Harry and Ron and Hermione on their, camping trip
Yeah.
during the seventh book.
Yeah.
At Hogwarts, it's literally like they're torturing the children.
Yes.
And Neville leads this, like, the Dumbledore's army people.
Yeah.
And they like live in the room of requirement for like most of the year, because if they find them, they're gonna kill them. And they're like pulling like, shenanigans to try to make it harder for the teachers and whatever. And just like, Neville becomes this huge leader, and you don't really get to see it
Right.
in the books. Like, you don't get to see it, you just kind of see the results.
Yeah.
But you don't even see that much in the movies.
No. My question is how the fuck do you send anybody back to Hogwarts in the 7th book? How do you do that? How do you not like protect your children and get them the fuck out of Dodge?
Like,
especially if
to some amount they're like the Death Eaters came and like forced them at one point to go back to school. Like, the parents who didn't want to send their kids
are forced to. Also, can we talk about sending I think Death Eaters to fucking third on the train? It's just Death Eaters, just
the Dementors.
The Mentors. Sorry, Dementors. I'm like, who wants a goddamn train? He like be like, oh,
not
like,
even just on the train, but like it was on the school grounds. Like,
yeah,
they had them like stationed outside the school. Like, Fudge is a nitwit. But my favorite villain, like the most evil villain, because like Voldemort is, he sucks, but you don't really know that much about him. You just know that he's like, the paragon of evil.
Yeah.
But but Dolores Umbridge is,
she's evil.
She is like sadistic.
Yes.
Like, she literally like will torture the children.
Yes.
With the blood quill or whatever.
Yes.
But she also is like that kind of make legislation kind of evil.
Yeah.
Like the evil that will like change the society to be worse for everybody.
Like,
kind of like the Roe v. Wade killer
I was gonna say,
or whatever.
Like Mike Pence. She's Mike Pence evil.
Except for she's much more sugary sweet, which is also annoying.
I know. Because like you would think if you saw her, be like, oh, but like as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, like she is not to be trusted. Especially when at Harry's arm, I must not tell lies. Oh, that's fucked, because you cannot punish children as a form of
the corporal punishment.
Yeah, because that's what Mad Eye does. And when McGonagall comes out being like, yo, like you can't do this. Also, something I wish they would have talked about as well in the movies is why there's always another Defense Against Dark Arts teacher every year. That the position is rotating because it was cursed by Dumbledore, or not Dumbledore, Voldemort, whoever takes it, who will basically destroy you. And that's
which is why like the teachers are so terrible, because they can't find anybody.
Yeah. Exactly. It's just basically like, oh, you've got a body and a soul. Let's go. But that's like,
or again, not even that.
No. Like, I mean, you could even come down to was Professor Lockhart, Gilderoy Lockhart.
Oh my gosh, like total criminal.
Yeah, 100%. But they're like, oh, whatever, we'll let him raise our kid. Like, he'll be gone in a year. But like the thing is like they knew that about Lupin, and that always bothered me that they put Lupin in that scenario. That because Lupin's a good guy. Because after Lupin, it was Mad Eye. And then it was Umbridge. Who was it in the 6th book?
The 6th book, it was Snape.
Right, it was Snape. Right, yep. And then Snape becomes headmaster in the 7th. And I don't know who it is in the 7th book or movie. It's not talked about of who the Defense Against Dark Arts teacher is. Is it also Snape still, if he's headmaster?
No, I think it's the Carrows. The Carrow twins, who are literally like, let's nail these students to the wall with some real nails. Yeah. Like, But speaking of Defense Against the Dark Art teachers, the
Yeah.
funniest portrayal of the Defense Against the Dark Art teachers was definitely done in the Harry Potter musical series.
Oh my God.
Like with the first one, the way that they did Quirrell, I'm not going to spoil it in case anybody runs off to YouTube to find this, but like the way that they pulled off Quirrell in the
It's
Harry Potter
so
musical is so funny. And
it's
then
so
Umbridge is
good.
so funny.
Oh my God. I have not watched that in like 100 years. As soon as we were talking before this podcast started about that. I was like, I have not seen it in a million years, but oh, I want to go back and watch it. It's so fucking good. It's so that's why like Harry Potter is so ingrained on like our generation. Like we grew up with it. The newer
Mhm.
generation doesn't give a shit about it as much. It's us that's like we wanted our letters at 11. If we ever get to go to Florida, we're gonna get our wands, we're gonna get our robes. Like, don't take it from us. Like I because I would see like the next generation, they're more Disney girls. I don't fuck with Disney girls, but people shouldn't fuck with Harry Potter girls either.
People
We're
shouldn't fuck with anybody.
that's true. But like don't mess with like Harry Potter, Sims, Taylor Swift fans. We will fuck you up.
Like, you know, people know to be wary of Beyonce fans, but they don't realize.
Yeah, don't come for a Harry Potter fan. Don't also associate like, oh, like what are you like? Are you a Gryffindor? And you're like, I'm a Slytherin. And goodbye. The end. We're done with this
See,
conversation.
one thing that I find, like, sometimes people can be a little cheesy with Harry Potter, which I find so fun, like the Harry
Yeah.
Potter musical, or like,
Yeah.
um, and I just find like I own a Severus Snape robe, like not an official one. It's like a robe that I think looks like Severus Snape. It's got big, long, draggy sleeves, and it's like it's just the best.
Can we also just say
I
that like Alan Rickman was like the best Snape that could have ever been Snape? The only thing is that he's a little too old because in the book he was 32 and his name's like fucking 60, which I will talk about what my hopes are for the HBO show. But I was like, dude, my dude, like, aren't you like the same age as Harry? Like, when was Harry's parents born? They're like, oh, like in the 60s. I was like, oh, so this is like modern day, right? And they're like, no, like Harry was born in the 80s. I'm like, so Harry's mom was like 21. Why is she like 45 in the movies? Also, why couldn't you get an actor that has properly Harry's eyes? That's the whole thing. Oh, you have your mother's eyes. You have your... Nah, this bitch had fucking green eyes in the movie, and you've got blue eyes.
okay, I have to tell you this. Like, so my family has had like random connections with like people who are famous.
Okay.
Like, um, and my mom used to babysit these two kids.
Okay.
Like she had like a home daycare.
Mhm.
Two of the kids that she would babysit were Alan Rickman's godsons.
Oh, is shit. Okay.
And they went to my high school because we lived in the same neighborhood.
Yep.
And unfortunately, one of them passed away when they were like in grade 9.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And so like anybody at the school was allowed to like welcome to come to the funeral.
Yeah.
And thankfully nobody approached him for an autograph.
Oh, could you imagine?
Could you imagine it? Like
I
just
no.
like my friend was like the hugest Alan Rickman fan, and she like went to the funeral because you know she wanted to, you know, she was
Hey,
sad that this young kid had died.
yeah.
And she was like, I mean, it's your one shot, but no,
No.
then you're like a horrible person. And you will
Mhm.
know that you're a horrible person for the rest of your life. Like, and Alan Rickman will know what a horrible person you
Person you
are.
are. If
Like,
anything, I would just if you could walk up to him, I would just pay your respects, being like, "Hey, I'm so sorry for your loss. By the way, best casting of Snape ever. Pleasure. Also, best movie villain as well in Die Hard. Also, good job going from theater to movies. Love you. Bye." Like just kind of stuff like that. But like, yeah, no.
speaking of Die Hard,
Oh my God. Okay.
when like I told you about the shoved by Sirius
Yes.
thing.
Yep.
So I was an extra, like I was like a non-speaking just person in a crowd role in this movie that um the guy who played Sirius was in, like back in the 90s. Um
Same guy who plays oh fuck, what's his Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
And he like, so I was just like some random kid in the street, and
Yeah.
he had to like run down the street and like make his way through a crowd and get to the front to save the leading lady. Well, he couldn't get his line straight. And every time he had to do the exact same movement so that it would have continuity.
Yeah.
And part of his movements was shoving me to the floor, and I was 6.
Oh my God.
And so then when I watched the Harry Potter movies and that guy was in, I was like, I don't know why. I just really don't like the serious guy.
I don't
My
like
mom's
Gary
like,
Oldman.
that's because he shoved you 15 times when you were 6 and knocked you to the ground 15 times. And I was like, oh, yeah, that
Oh,
would do it.
yeah, 100%. That would do it. I mean, as a kid, I can't say anything. Gary Oldman's like one of my like favorite actors of all time. I love him. He's so universal. He can like literally play any character. And the fact that like he like touched you, I guess. I get sad acting, sad, but like cool to share a scene with Gary Oldman. But besides,
And so
minus him pushing you.
his leading lady was Demi Moore.
Okay.
And my dad was one of like the like technical people. He was fairly high up in the production.
Yep.
And so he was doing like the Demi Moore had Bruce Willis visiting with her kids, and they were going to do dinner, and they're like, oh hey, like Ria's dad, do you want to go to dinner with your family with us, because your kids and our kids are the same age.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time my mom didn't cut my brother and my food for us at a dinner. She was like, here's the knife, you're on your own.
Yeah, I'm sitting with a dinner with like Bruce Willis and Demi Moore, and like I heard their whatever kids were alive at that time, potentially Ireland
um I don't remember what their kid, like
or
Rebel or something.
Rebel. Yeah, I can't remember their names. Jesus Christ, that's awesome though. That is
But
a
like apparently I was like, who are those two boring adults? I don't care. But my brother would talk to anybody, and apparently Demi Moore was always happy to chat with him because he had no idea who she was.
oh my God.
And he was like 8. So
But yeah, I mean, at 8 years old, I honest to God, like I love a lot of things. I'm a very universal person. I could share an elevator with like a professional hockey player and it'd be like, yo, can you press like the 7th floor button? Like I'm getting off on the 7th floor. Cool, thanks. Bye. But like I would have like no idea who you are. Like I have street blindness all the time. Like unless you're like in Vanderpump Rules, Harry Potter, John Oliver, anybody from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, or just other things that I watch. But other than that, like yeah, I'm like, oh, sure. But I appreciate that. At least there was nice. That's like a BuzzFeed story, like I met them when I was a kid and they were nice, or I met them and they were mean. I do like that. Now we gotta switch back to gears to Harry Potter because we are gonna wrap up very soon. What is your favorite Harry Potter book and why?
I have a real soft spot for the first one,
Yeah.
just because like I it was the first one that I read, and I was so into it, and it like kind of changed my life.
Okay.
Because after reading it, then it was always, it was kind of like playing The Sims for the first time. Like, you play The Sims and then you don't realize it's going to become such a big thing in your life.
Yeah.
And Harry Potter, it was the same thing. Like I read the first one and I had no idea that there was even a series, because I only had the first book. And I didn't know like by the time I was like 35 that I would be still, passionate about that book.
It grabs a hold of you. Now I also have to ask, if you were in the wizarding world, what would your career be?
I think I'd want to do something that was like not explored very much in the books. Like I wouldn't want to be like a Quidditch player, because honestly, I think I would probably throw up on a broom.
Yeah.
But like, and I don't think I want to be a teacher. Like
No.
I think I would probably want to be like a craft person of some kind, like someone who made like the trunks, or like, tailoring the wizarding robes or something like that.
Okay, I like that. See, I would want to work in the Department of Mysteries because that always fascinated me. Like the fact that like they're in a wizarding world and there's still mysteries to them that they don't understand. So I think like I would be like, there, please. For me, I would say obviously the first book. the first and second movie hold a special spot in my heart. I just really love them. The scene of them at Halloween with all of the candy on the table is a scene that has always resonated with me in my life. Or when they're on the train and Harry like just takes out his gold and buys everything of all the candy. Like to like that is like a huge like kid moment to me of like I would have done that if I was a kid if I had money. So like it was just or like again the original Dumbledore, amazing. I just wasn't a fan of like the darker version. Like it got darker, but it to me it wasn't dark enough because it was too safe. It was like, oh, we're gonna make it a little murky, but it was just kind of I wanted it more dark.
Well, I just found like, especially like the seventh book with the Deathly Hallows, how it became such a huge thing, but it wasn't teased at all. There was no like, there was no like through line of like, a hint of a Deathly Hallows idea. Like it was just like, oh, I need some way to finish this, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I didn't plan this out. Let me think. I know, I'll make this random thing that nobody's ever heard of before.
Right. And that's exactly it. And I'm like, but you could have teased it. Why wasn't it scoured? So when I wrote Rose Chronicles, I wrote the ending first. I wrote who was going to die first. So I know before I wrote the first word what was going to happen and to make everything go there. And now I've gone back and rewritten a lot of stuff. I'm so focused on the second and third book right now that when I have to come back and rewrite scenes of the first one, there will be callbacks and call forwards that didn't exist when I wrote the first or second or third draft because I'm now so far in. I kind of just wish there was more of like, okay, so you can clearly tell there were parts of the story where it was never set in stone. Like she had no idea how it was ending. And I kind of wish she would have come in with a little bit more. But I will say, do I like J.K. Rowling as a person? No. But did she fucking create one of the best stories that I've ever read and enjoy? Yes. But I feel like we can disassociate the two. And I'm really hoping that in the HBO series that she'll just kind of be like an afterthought or a shadow, and to let the storytellers take the source material. Because now this is also the first time that all the source material is out. And now we have even more source material. You have the Fantastical Beast books. You have the Quidditch books. I'm literally looking at them right now. Like, and you have a bigger audience. You have more money. You can go and
you have adults who want to know.
Yes.
They've been passionate. It's kind of like the Lost thing. Like, there were like people who were passionate about knowing all the mysteries. And but this is like one that's built up since we were little children.
Exactly. And speaking of built up, I have a list here of things that I want to see in the Harry Potter reboot. Also, shout out to Harry Potter's birthday. Happy birthday, Harry Potter. So he was born in 1980, so he would be 43 today.
Oh my gosh.
That's fucking old.
So that's like what the cursed child would be happening now? Like,
yeah, I think the curse would be happening right around now. And that's also something I didn't realize, that Harry Potter took place in the 90s. Like early 2000s. I was like, oh shit. I always just associate it with 2000s because like at that time there was no cell phones, there were no computers, there was nothing. It's like, oh, like this is what my house looks like now, so it's clearly modern day, but it's not. Anyways, here are 11 things that need to be in the reboot. Number one, Fred and George shenanigans need to be given the attention that they deserve. Also, their joke shop and how they got it and how Harry helped them get it. That needs to be in there 100%. And I want them to show a little bit more of them being jokesters, even in the beginning films, instead of it being like, oh, we own a joke shop now and we'll sell you love potions. Yeah, I was like, get the fuck out of get the fuck out of here. I've already touched on this. Jenny's entire character arc, stick to the books. 100% stick to the books. She's amazing. She's amazing in the books. It makes sense why she ends up with Harry in the books, but in the movie, I was like, he like zipped up her dress. I guess they're getting married. An age accurate casting as well. Like
especially for the adults.
For the adults, because
I know like you have to have kids be a little bit older to.
Yeah, but like make Harry's parents when they die 21 because that's how old they were, and Snape is 32 when Harry goes to Hogwarts for the first time. So like let's make their ages correct instead of it being why was like again Al Rickman best Snape ever but a little too old. So let's please have a little bit more accuracy. But yeah, for kids.
But even Gary Oldman and the guy who played Remus, like they were all quite old.
Oh yeah.
For the characters.
Oh, I agree. Also, Winky the house elf, properly told. Who the fuck's Winky? Winky was never mentioned in the movies. Or any of the house elves that are basically slaves in the wizarding world.
They're see literally slaves.
Literally. And how Hermione like tried to get their for their rights in the first book. Also owls, the importance of the owl exams. It's only talked about in the second film, like, oh, all your owl exams are canceled because half the fucking students were petrified and couldn't practice in school, so no exams for everybody.
And like, how did the kids who weren't Hermione catch up after that?
Right. Another thing is, well, Horcrux is actually fully explained. I would love to, like, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, hey Harry, come to this cave with me. I'm gonna drink a bunch of poison and I'm gonna fucking die. But
I'm not going to tell you that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to save you. Oh, by the way, this actually wasn't the Horcrux because the Black family had it. Oh, just kidding. We're not even going to talk about the Black family. Or I think is it RB?
RBG.
RBG.
Or no. Regulus something Black.
Yeah. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like talking about that line of the Black family. No, we're not even going to talk about that.
There's a couple really good fan fictions about him.
But just like, okay, or like Tonks, she's amazing in the books. Oh, she has fun color hair and she's an amorphous because she can like change her into whatever she wants. So I'm like, okay, can we explore that more, please? And also the Harry Voldemort showdown done properly at the end, and like actually have the true battle of Hogwarts instead of having this fucking 3.5-hour film for the first one that's just basically set up for the second one, but it didn't even like properly set it up because there was still, in my opinion, too much filler in the 7 part 1 and 7 part 2.
Yeah.
Also the Neville Longbottom, which we talked about, could have been the chosen one subplot explored. I would love to see a St. Margot's and just going in there and talking about like what happens to older wizards because there's no one old besides Dumbledore, right?
Or even just like, you just need like a 10-minute clip of them going in because they're wandering around the hospital after Ron's dad got hurt, and that's how they learn about it in the books. Is they're wandering around the hospital, and then they wander up by the ward for people with irreversible spell damage, and Neville's there like holding his parents' hands.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, like all you need is 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Neville holding their hands. Who are those people? Those are his parents. Patrick Lestrange did it. Like, that's all you need. Like 10 seconds, 15 at the tops.
Exactly. I would definitely want to see like that, and it just it would get more explained. It's just completely glossed over. Also was completely glossed over is Harry's angsty phase. He was a perfect child. He was like, yeah, okay, like we can solve anything. We can solve all of the anything because we're awesome. And then also there anything with Rita Skeeter. She's just in the second book being like, oh look, young love, here you go. And then she wrote the expose about Dumbledore in the 7th book. And like no one talks about Rita Skeeter. For the rest.
Even in the books, no one talks about how, like, I think Molly Weasley sends Hermione a howler about how she's leading Harry on.
Yeah.
When Rita Skeeter writes the young love part. And it's like, Molly, that was very rude. Like, I
agree.
Like, not only rude, but like inappropriate.
She's a child, and it wasn't true, obviously.
And it doesn't matter if it was true. It's still like very inappropriate.
Harry can do whatever Hermione can do whatever the fuck.
That's why people have the Weasley bashing. In the stories, like the Weasleys are evil because it's kind of like Dumbledore. They're like, why would Molly be standing in the Muggle section of, King's Cross Station yelling about Muggles?
Yeah.
Gee, like, you think she doesn't know how to get her kids onto the train after she's already had several graduate?
Fucking, she also has like 8 kids. Get a hobby, Miss Molly. I'm just saying. Also, another thing to dive into is more of like Voldemort and like what makes Voldemort Voldemort. I wanted a prequel of like Voldemort's origin story in Hogwarts to how of a much of a promising student he was. And, maybe if he had proper education instead of Slughorn basically, feeding into him, maybe Voldemort could have been different.
Well, and Slughorn was such a creep too.
Oh, 100%.
And you definitely got a lot more of an understanding of him being like a complete, just like obsessive about, oh, I'm going to get in on the ground floor of these young children's fame and glory.
I know.
Like,
It's so
like it's
gross.
like, okay, like, if you're going to be a teacher, be in there to like help children. Don't be in
Exactly.
there to exploit children.
No, exactly. It's so gross. Last but not least, and this is also something that drives me crazy, is the Marauders. Can we talk more about the Marauders? Besides it just being like a 5-minute conversation of a flashback of a deleted scene that never really made it into the film of who the Marauders were, how important they were to the story. Like, because like
There's
that was
so
that
much about that like it are important plot points that if you don't have them, then you're not going to understand the story.
I because that's what they're like, oh, like the Marauders, and I was like, the who? And they're like the Marauders. It's a huge part of Harry Potter. I'm like, no, it's not. And they're like, oh, you're a movie girl. No, in the books. I was like, oh my god, you are right. It's the
It's
Marauders play a
huge.
huge. I wish the spinoff would have just been the. Here's my three wishes for the spinoff. Four. Actually, I'm gonna give a four. One, the Marauders. Whole spinoff. I want that. Two, the original how they formed Hogwarts, the 4 founders. That would be so
Amazing.
cool. And it kind of show like the early days of magic. Cool. I love that. 3, Miss McGonagall gets a fucking show. Okay. She is the headmaster of Hogwarts, and no one's gonna tell me different. And then 4, I would like to see them explore other wizarding worlds. We only really see the UK. Besides in Fantastical Beasts, we go to Germany and Nazi Germany time, which of course I don't know why Hollywood's obsessed with Nazi Germany, but we'll go with that. Yeah, that's where the third place takes in the Germany during the World War II. Or just about almost World
That's
War II.
it's always about, like the Avengers, it's Germany, World War II, and whatever. And it's kind of like that is like a very somber historical moment
Yeah,
of, something to learn from and like,
yeah.
reflect on with horror. Like it's it's kind of gross to take that
All
and
like,
then just like make light of it by making it
like
all superheroes.
oh yeah, like oh look, if superheroes are here, we would have been fine. Or like, look, it's like they don't like full on say like it's wizarding. We just know it takes place in the 30s and 40s, and this is placed in our world, modern time. So we know obviously World War II because they talk about like oh like dictators coming. Why why didn't you do something then in the wizarding world about it? Anyways, long story short, we're not diving that into that set. But I would like to see more of like the American school, where Victor Krum went to school, the France school, and just because I think is there 8 schools?
I think so, which doesn't make a lot of sense because
No.
you'd figure if they're not going to just get inbred,
Mm-hmm.
then there would have to be more people in the
Yeah,
visiting world that would fit in that many schools.
but I maybe there's like different like the thing is like what if you didn't get into Hogwarts but you got into a different one instead? Like it's not really like talk. It's like Hogwarts, like fucking Harvard, Yale, and Princeton had a baby. Is it hard to get into? Is it easy to get into? Because isn't it true that when you're born, your name gets written into the book if you're accepted in?
Yeah, and apparently the letters get sent automatically because otherwise Professor McGonagall should go to jail for not being like, the cupboard under the stairs. Gee, I wonder why this letter is addressed to the cupboard under the
The
stairs.
stairs, right? Yeah, I have to assume magic. Okay, if Rita Skeeter can have her little
Quick
quill,
quotes.
yeah. So I'm assuming it's all that. And if someone's not being like, "Hey, my dude, This kid lives in the fucking cupboard. Should probably fix that. Well, I think this is a perfect spot to cap this off. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about Harry Potter?
I think we covered most of it. Fan fiction is awesome, but be a
Yeah,
little cautious if you don't want to see some things.
definitely don't type lemon. Don't do what I do if you're not ready for some lemon stuff. But okay, so modern day cast, who would you cast as Harry?
Um, Someone who's completely unknown.
Thank you. Because that's what they did with the original. I want no one known. I don't give a fuck about Instagram followers. No. And someone's like, oh, you know who should play Hermione is Jenna Ortega, the one who played Wednesday. I was like, ooh, ooh.
For one thing, I think it'd be interesting if they explored other um
Besides,
like besides
besides,
white people.
yeah, and also besides the main three, I would
Yeah,
like I don't know. I would like to see more representation thrown in instead of like Joe Chow. And I don't remember the other kid's name. Oh, what's his name? What's his name? What's his name? What's his name?
Dean.
Dean. Yeah. And he's mean to Jenny. Okay.
Lavender
Lavender.
Brown
Yeah.
was in the first movie, was cast and named, and she was an actress of color.
Yes.
And then when it came to Ron dating Lavender Brown, they
They
recast her.
recasted
So
her as a white girl. I know.
yeah,
And then they also bullied her on set because she was too fat. That just came out last year that she was very bullied to lose a lot of weight on set because she was too
by
fat.
who?
The directors and the pressures of Hollywood.
Oh,
She was too fat. I know.
because I was hoping it wasn't like the three main actors because
No.
because like I really admire each of them.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the
Like
main
in a way
three.
that I try not to get too attached to actors or celebrities because you never know
You don't know
who
them.
they're really like. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but
no, it was the director and her team that was pressuring her to lose weight. She came out last year and talked about her experience of like being on Harry Potter. Also, something to be said for all the Harry Potter extras in the first two films, they weren't paid. They were given their cloaks and scarves as payment.
that seems like illegal.
This was before child laws that were very strict. And especially now in the States, they've just lowered the age rate, I think, in Kansas City to 12 years old, 11 and 12 years old to start. You can now have a job. That's gross. Child labor.
No, I know. Like I know, but like also
You don't have to pay
I,
them
I'm not a
$17
I'm
hour.
not a violent person, but sometimes I think, if somebody tripped and fell down a manhole, then
Oh
the
no.
world might be a better place.
Oh no. Oh no. Right? Like, oh, circumstance. Speaking of
And
circumstance,
not die falling down
no,
the manhole, but
just
get it some sense knocked into them.
yeah, or just kind of be like, I can't do my job anymore, or oh, like let's get proper voting reform in. Anyways, wrong podcast for this. Anyways, please enjoy Harry Potter. Please go celebrate Harry Potter's birthday. Go watch all 7 films. Let me know which Harry Potter film you like. For me, it's my order is 2, 1, 4, 3, and the others don't exist. But Ria, thank you so much for coming here today. Where can we find you?
I am on Instagram as Reekyteek, and I am on the Sims Gallery as Reekyteek as well, if you want to check out any of my stuff. And I also am a moderator on the Sims 4 Society on Facebook.
Well, please go check out Ria. The links are going to be below. Thank you so much for coming back here today. Thank you for doing 3 podcasts with me in 15 hours. Please go check out the Barbie podcast as well. That is out. And please stay tuned to later next month where me and Ria sit down and talk about what it's like to be a home baker versus a professional baker. That one, believe that podcast comes out either August 20th or August 26th. So please mark your calendars for that. And Ria, it has been an absolute pleasure having you here today. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.